Assa, dudes. We are back for the final regular season week of the CIL, and this is going to be a little bit shorter than usual because I'm not going to show you the team builder. The reason for that is Tony, my opponent, coach of the something surf. I can't remember off the top of my head. Coach of the surf is, in fact, for most of the season was number one in our conference, but last week Sam was able to knock him off with that scarf circuitry, and so we were tied in record. And so this game determined who got the number one seed in the playoffs and a bye. So obviously Tony's pretty good, and he's got a really good team, as you're going to see up on the screen there. He's got Mega Swampert, Tapu Koko, Jirachi, Latios, Politoed, Marowak, Alola, Amoonguss, Dredagon, Togekiss, Raichu, Alola, and Blaziken Blaze, along with the Dragonium Z this week. The first thing I noticed is there's a lot of speed options on his team. He can get Alolan Raichu going regardless of weather, and it does have coverage to hit my Sand Mode, so it can outspeed and hit Excadrill and Hippowdon. Tapu Koko itself is faster than my entire team, and I can't Thunder Wave it with Thundurus. Of course, he's got Swampert Under the Rain, which is also very fast, and he's also got some good bulk on his team. Marowak can be bulky, but mostly I'm looking at Amoonguss, Togekiss, and actually the Dredagon can be surprisingly bulky, especially with the rough skin and rocky helmet, wearing down any physical attackers. So luckily for me, I have pretty good answers to his bulk. Kyurem, hits pretty much everything super effectively, and Marowak cannot come in on the Fusion Bolt, even if it is Lightning Rod because of Terravolt. Prepping for his team was a little bit scary because I felt the matchup was I feel that it's the most stilted against me than any other matchup in the CIL right now. And again, I'm not going to go into the team builder. We might rematch. There are some tricks and secrets that I didn't get to show off in this match that I would like to maybe use if we did play again. So as you can see, he brought the Amoonguss, Politoed, Blaziken, Swampert, Tapu Koko, and Latios. And we have Big Mama, Frosty, Poseidon, Zeus, Absalom, and Beef Jones rounding out our six. It's got a baton pass component to it. But I need to be careful about when I baton pass because he has such fast threats, like a Scarf Koko or a Scarf Latios or Swampert in the Rain. I can't just get two things up and then pass it. I also have to worry about like haze and stuff. So that because he has that haze option and like a clear smog from Amoonguss, I didn't want to like force the setup until the time was right. So the plan was to like wear down the team and then try to set it up later. We shall see how it plays out. I decided to lead Big Mama, who I'm not going to tell you. She's got some Big Mama's got a couple tricks that you really just didn't see in this match. I'm going to lead off with her because of her trickiness. If he leads Politoed, as many Rain leads do, we're in good shape. Tapu Koko is a good lead because it pivots. He can U-turn out. Pretty sure I could even be like Scarf Jolly max speed, and Tapu Koko would be like min speed and still outrun us. Amoonguss would be kind of a frustrating lead. But that was a risk I was willing to take. So I lead Big Mama. And he decides to start off with the Latios. And I know for a fact that this spread can take anything that Latios wants to go for. Surprisingly, he goes for Reflect, which I did not expect to see. And I don't know what the plan is here, so I immediately just go for the Whirlwind because, like I said, I don't know what he's doing, but I don't want to let him do it. So, or Roar, excuse me. Big Mama actually gets both. I just realized that. We roar out to Blaziken, which is awesome. Big Mama's great for taking on Blaziken. But he goes back into Toad. I almost Whirlwinded again, but I decided in case he had some like cheeky coverage or just getting off some nice chip on any potential switch in would be good. He goes back into the Toad. We get it down nice and low, almost about half. I go into cure him knowing that the only bad thing that can really happen here is risking a Scald Burn, which is exactly what happens because everybody else's Scald Burns except for ours, which is fine. It's fine, guys. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So our Fusion Bolt's not going to do crap. I decide to go for a sub predicting a switch because I say it's not going to do crap, but I'm pretty sure it still KOs Politoed from that range. I go for the sub, which is awesome because Tapu Koko is a huge threat here. He has to go for damage here, and he goes for the Dazzling Gleam since we're behind the sub. I click that Earth Power. Unfortunately for me, since we're not Life Orb or a boosting item, as you can see from our leftovers, we are unable to get the KO on Tapu Koko. But this is actually good because we're stalling out these turns of Reflect for some physical... Oh, you know what? Hindsight. Fusion Bolt wouldn't have KO'd because of the burn and Reflect. But I decided to go Big Mama here, set up the sand. I know I can take the Dazzling Gleam just fine. Tapu Koko doesn't hit that hard on the special side unless it's an electric attack. So I can take the Dazzling Gleam reasonably well. And I decided to slack off to get some health back. I want to stay healthy as possible so I can keep setting up the sand in case that Politoed comes back. And I know that eventually Sandstorm's going to KO this anyway. Unfortunately, he also gets a crit after that, but we slack it off, so we get most of it back. I think we get all of it back after leftovers. I think, perhaps. Oh, no, we didn't, because we don't have leftovers. Not going to tell you what it is, but yeah, we weren't able to do it. So I switch out to save it because in case I need to get rid of the rain later. Curum's not useless, but it's really not good for much else besides the Politoed here. It does kind of help for the Amoonguss since he can't spore us because we're burnt, but Ice Beam gives him Blaziken switch-ins, and Blaziken's also a problem. Not that we're super weak to it, but we're weak enough that it changes the way I play around it. He gets a crit on the Scald, meaning we won't... so I better explain that. We went for the Ice Beam because I just want chip damage on this Politoed. I actually want to keep it around for reasons I'm not going to specify. There's so much I can't tell you guys, but trust me, like I'll explain it in like a blog post or maybe a video someday, or maybe I'll just redo this once playoffs are done if one of us gets eliminated and explain the decisions here. But we're going to pause that. I went for the Ice Beam to get chip damage. Unfortunately, I should have been able to get 2 Ice Beams off because of Scald and Burn would have left me with like 4% HP or 5 or maybe 6 at most. I can't remember exactly. But the crit did take us out, so we weren't able to get that extra chip, which I think might come into play later. But that does gives me, when Kyurem goes down, it gives me free switch into Z's. Thanks to the rain. We are packing the Hurricane, planning for the rain. Z's actually puts in a ton of work. There is no flying resist left, and even when he had one, it did not take Hurricane well. In fact, I don't think it's a 2-hit KO, but I think it actually comes close. So I go for the Hurricane. When the Latios comes in, it only takes 42, which tells me it's probably a little bit bulky, which I was concerned somewhat of Scarf Latios, but I am equipped with Z's to take on any form of Latios, I believe. And so I decided to stay in and go for the knockoff. He did have the light clay, which if I had been paying attention earlier with the light screen, I could have seen that, but I honestly wasn't, guys. So I go for the knockoff to pick up the KO there. Blaziken comes out. I know if he's going to come out now, he has to be scarfed. There's no, like, you're in the rain, so your fire attacks aren't going to do squat. And you're outsped by Tornadus, who definitely KOs you with Hurricane. In hindsight, knowing how healthy Tornadus was, I probably should have stayed in and just clicked Hurricane, because I do live the Stone Edge. But I did go into Manaphy because it was safer. Go for the Ice Beam, predicting the switch into Amoonguss, and we got it. And I stay in with Manaphy because he can't spore me, because the rain's up and we have hydration. So getting chip on this Amoonguss is actually really awesome. But I also don't want the Amoonguss to go down either. So when he starts to get... don't worry, the freeze thaws, yeah. when he starts to get low, typical, we get RNG in it, and it just fixes itself. Uh, we get him nice and low here. As you're going to see, the Ice Beam gets him down to 17%. Not sure why he didn't Spore there. Instead, he went for the Hidden Power. I almost went for Rain Dance because I do have it on this specific set. We decided to get a Scald. Poseidon's second Scald burn, 2 for 2 in the last couple weeks. That's going to be kind of useful because that's going to keep Amoonguss nice and low. And now that Amoonguss is low, I decide now is the time to go into Scolipede and get a sub up. Because if he stays in and tries to clear Smog or tries to attack or something, it's too late for him. He's burnt and he'll go down. He has to switch out, meaning I get a free sub off. And I didn't know if this Politoed had a way of dealing with Baton Pass. So I decided I have a plan. I have a game plan that I wanted to execute here. I do have some good offense still with both Snorlax and Tornadus. So I want to get that going. So I'm going to do my best to do that. And I want to do so with a sub. So I decided I need a little more speed though. I decided to go for another sub just to like waste a turn of the rain so that Swampert can't come in and get that ×2 when I'm only at ×2 myself. Just makes him a lot harder to deal with. So ultimately, after seeing the haze, I said, well, I have to get rid of the Politoed. That does, however, mean we've won the weather war because as soon as Hippowdon comes back in, we're good to go. Now, because he had the haze, he played this insanely well. Because he had the haze and we're only at +2, we can't necessarily execute our game plan. We kind of could. In fact, you know what? In hindsight, I could have gone into Tornadoes. I thought we were at +1, I think. But I decided to play it safe, get the sand up, so that no matter what, this Swampert cannot win the game because I have Tornadus to outspeed it. He goes for the waterfall. Yeah, in hindsight, that was actually a misplay on my part because Tornadus just won from there. All I had to do is hit. Oh gosh, really missed the boat on that one. Oh well, we live and we learn. The Swampert goes down to Grass Knot. I don't think Tony expected the Grass Knot because there came a big fuck out after that happened. Like I told you, remember earlier I said we should have stayed in and clicked Hurricane because we lived the Stone Edge. Could have switched out later and got Regenerator. We do miss a Hurricane because the Sandstorm's up. Pretty sure that makes it 50% accurate. So it's not like RNG like messed with us there. And it makes sense too because he missed a Stone Edge earlier. So that part kind of balances. The crits and the Scald Burn I'm not going to say anything about. So this one I'm like, oh crap, like I actually could lose. So I do know now that from before actually that he is choiced, or if he's bluffing it, he's doing an insanely good job, and I'll find out here pretty soon. I can actually stall out his Stone Edges with Absolem, and that's exactly the plan because I don't have another play. Anything else and Blaziken can win the game. So what you're seeing here isn't the pinnacle of Pokemon, but I don't have many other options. As you saw earlier, we are packing the Poison Gem on Absolem, so we can actually execute some offense here. But the plan, again, see, stall out those Stone Edges. Can't remember what I did here. I think I went for damage. He switches out into Amoonguss, which I think is smart because he could have pivoted back out and maybe got some health back and then clear smogged or something. But we went for the attack, and that actually proved to be like really useful. So at this point, there's really no sense in me baton passing because Scolipede actually cleans up with Poison Jab, which I almost had Toxic Spikes. Really glad I packed the Poison Jab. The Amoonguss actually was my deterrent for bringing Toxic Spikes. And Blaziken is outpaced because we are going to be at max speed after this turn, and he's Scarf. And at worst, I knew it was a 2-hit KO. Since I don't think we were invested in attack, but as you can see, we were able to take it out from that range and pull off the 2-0 win, which aside from our loss week 1 is actually our lowest differential of the season, meaning we have finished the regular season at 7-1 with a plus 26 differential, and I'm insanely happy about that. I would love to have the 8-0 and maybe like 3 more on that, but it's Pokemon. RNG is what it is. We put ourselves in a position to lose to it, so we end up with a less than perfect record, but that's okay because I could have scraped by with a wild card and been happy because the goal here is to win the CIL, not have a perfect regular season record. I don't give a hoot about that. So, going into the playoffs, not a whole lot is determined here. We do have a bye the first round and the number one seed in our bracket. Also, with a number one seed and a bye is Blue, and Tony, with his record, has secured the number 3 seed. Don't know who he'll play the first round, but the potentials currently are well, Chase and Rachel definitely make the playoffs. And Kyle has a chance, but Craig also has a chance. And those two are in the same conference. If Craig wins his game, Craig makes the playoffs. And if Craig loses, then Kyle makes the playoffs. Either way. So without some of these games happening, there's not a whole lot of additional information I can provide. If you're watching and if you've made it this far, I will say there's going to be a special episode of CantoCast coming out where we discuss some playoff action of the CIL. Not going to say anything else about it. Not going to say when it comes out or when we're recording or anything, but you're going to have to stick around. And there's going to be a big announcement on that episode also. So whenever you see me go on CantoCast, you better check it out because it's going to be big news. Big news. It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. All right, guys. That's it for me. This actually turned out to be quite a bit longer than I anticipated without a team builder. But that's the battle. That's the season for us. We get to sit back and relax for the first week of playoffs, which is amazing because the second week officially starts when I get back from Ohio. So I wasn't coming in here not to win, but I definitely didn't have my sights like set on it. To me, it didn't matter. As long as, like I said, as long as I made the playoffs, that's all I really cared about. And I did that, I think, a week or two ago. So it's extra nice to have that, to not have to worry about anything over vacation. Except just to sit back and see who I've got to deal with here. That's going to be it for me, guys. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you on Twitter. Bye.